Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can.
Okay. So
Good
we
afternoon.
just wait a few more minutes for other people to join. Good afternoon, Kendi. Um, I'm really excited about this panel. Hi, Chiwendu. Did I
Hi.
get your name well?
Yes, you did. Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm really excited about this panel.
Same here. Same here.
Is anybody showing us a skit or something?
Let's see. Let's see. Um, okay.
So Kende is here. Chiwendu is here. Let's check. Uh, Ibitayo Odetade. Is he around? Ibitayo Odetade. I don't think so. We have 1 minute to go. Okay, I believe we can start now while we wait for others to join. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the panel, session 5F. I want to introduce this panel the way Mr. Macaroni would, because I believe this line or this phrase is from his skit. You are doing well. Ooin. Comedy, digital skits, and everyday urban youth culture. So I'm really excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to the robust discussions that we're going to be having here. I joined from a mobile device, so from time to time my camera may be off if I want to, maneuver and all of that. So just please pardon me, but I'm very much attentive. So without wasting much time, I think we were supposed to have 4 speakers. Maybe others are going to still join. I can see Chiwendu and I can see Kende. Yeah. So without wasting much time, we'll start with Chiwendu. But first of all, let me say that you have about, let me say 15 minutes for now to speak. It could be more, but 15 minutes is sure. So just try to keep to 15 minutes. So Chiwendu will be talking to us about online comedy skits and the sexual objectification of women in Nigeria. Chiwendu is joining us from Bowling Green State University. Chiwendu Akalunu. All right, so you have the floor now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for Lakemi. So can I share my screen? Is that possible? Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm trying to share my screen. I don't know if it's visible.
Not yet.
Okay. Wow. Still?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, what is going on? Okay, can the next person please present while I try to figure this out, because I'm trying to share it and I don't know why it's not coming up, even for me.
Oh, okay. Do we have oh, okay. Coyote, are you ready? Okay,
I
sorry,
think okay. Sorry.
all right. Kehinde Olukayode, are you there? I don't think Kehinde is here. All right, okay. Pending when Chiwendo is ready for us, I would like to share some of my thoughts on this panel. Since I was called by the organizers of this conference to be the chair of this panel, I've been having all sorts of thoughts about, oh, Chiwendo left, okay, about this topic. And one of the things I thought about is the impact of COVID-19 on the origin or popularity of these kids. Because I attended, I was talking to Kehinde, was it yesterday? And I told him that I attended a session with Google where all the skit makers, online skit makers were invited to come and talk about, their work and all of that. And one thing that struck me was that many of them said they actually started during the COVID-19 period. And I found that, really interesting. I also think about, the monetization, commercialization of the skit. Many of these skit makers are influencers and they're making money from multiple sources. And some of them even cross over to Nollywood sometimes, are they really crossing over? That's another question. I mean, they do regular films and all that. So they're making money from multiple sources, sort of youth empowerment and all of that, combating poverty and things like that. I thought about the costume they wear, wearing one kind of costume for identity. You have Mama Tao, for example, in Taoma's kids, you have Mama Tao, Baba Tao wearing a particular costume, but Tao is free to change as she likes. These are some of the questions and interrogations that I've been having. Another example is this daddy wa, mommy wa. You see them wearing one particular costume, and why their daughters change costumes as they're like, okay. Chiwendu, are you ready now? Or you're still trying?
So I just went, I just logged out and I'm trying to log in again to see if I can share it now.
Okay,
so let me
just take your time. It looks like we just have two panelists. So just take your time and see whether you can share the screen.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready to go?
Right.
Yes.
You are, okay. So I will stop my rant now and maybe continue later while I allow you to present your paper so we can have Chiwendu later on when she sorted out the screen sharing. So Kehinde, you're welcome. Kehinde is from the University of Lagos and is going to be talking to us about immediacy culture, and protest in new media performance. Kende, so you have the floor, you have 15 minutes. Let's still keep it at 15 minutes and see how it goes, okay? All right.
Okay.
You have the floor now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, the chair. I must say we had a very interesting discussion last night, and it was very interesting. And so, moving on to the presentation, the title of this topic is immediacy, culture, and protest in new media performance. And I've outlined my presentation in this format. I have the introduction, data methodology, theoretical framework. Then I have a section that I have titled Transformation and Remediation of Dramatic Genres. Another section titled Nigerian Youth Culture and Their Performative Expression. And the last, second to the last section is titled Sorosuke Subjects, Mapping a Liberal and Automodal Modern Socio-Cultural Space. Then I ended up with a critical reflection. So I start off with that. No doubt, we know that youth in Africa are beginning to take prominence. And most more than not is the fact that they take prominence for bad things. The term youth has been swaddled with a lot of black clothes. However, on the other hand, we have that youth are also beginning to every aspect of the society. And one aspect of that, one aspect of the society is the social aspect, where we have a lot of youth influencers, as Folakemi identified. And in this first slide, I said, without no doubt, African youth have risen to prominence and influence virtually every aspect of the society. Mapping their dramatic experience provide criticism on the prevailing society stereotype in their surroundings. Through the use of comical skits, I hope to better understand the growth, performative inventiveness, and the artistic expressions of young people in Nigeria. So basically, this study revolves around the form of comical skits. I'm trying to understand basically the form of comical skits. And data, this is a qualitative in nature, as it employs an ethnographic research method. So of comical skit content creator were interviewed during the field trip, and a participant observation method was also engaged. This is descriptive and interpretive in nature. The comical studies, comical skits rather, were comedy. I draw into the concept by the concept of auto-modernity by Robert Samuel and Matthew Brown's liberalism, to offer a constructive understanding of Sorosuke ideology within the global space. Primarily, the youth reaction on the dramatic genre. One major thing that I identified about comical skits is that comical skits shares the level of that is one the fact that there is a very striking relationship between the conventional notion of drama and comical skit, and the link there makes that what makes people, or what has helped a lot of people enjoy this new form of dramatic genre. I see it as a new form of dramatic genre. Is the fact that it answers to the question of immediacy, which the conventional drama, the theater definition of drama, you are having new dramatic genres coming up. We have comical skits, we have memes, we have cartoons, GIFs, and representation in the liberal global arena goes beyond funny skits to a kind of popular culture. So this section is majorly concerned about the reception of comical skits that it enjoys across the social expression. Whether we like it or not, it is agreeable that Nigerians, most especially Nigerian youths, are finding every means possible to express their bitterness, so the social political downfalls in the society. And one avenue that is being used to express this is comical skits. Take, for example, the comical skit of MC Lively. When he started with the comical skit Agidi, and he observed in my interview with him, he observed that, you know, everybody is just being stubborn and nobody wants to do anything that influenced or influenced his comical skit creation. Was that he said, and I quote, he said, I was sitting down in church on Sunday. I decided that, okay, tomorrow I'm starting this video record. And the Agidi, and we'll see he had the Agidi, it is Agidi, and everything, and you know, that's so apt at expressing his bitterness. That's one way you see his commentary at the bitterness of what society. And we'll see that resonate between also in La CCNS, Macaroni, who uses his comic skills to tout the illicit behaviors of of sugar daddies, and you see him saying, "Oh, you're doing well," you know, just all those freaky. All these are just uh, the situations in the society, and that's most subject, mapping brand and also modern social society had always been a recurring phenomenon in the African society. And also major one that has come to light of recent is the youth protest. And we see that in Senegal, we see that in South Africa, we see the year met in Senegal where a group of guys came up to protest against. First of all, it was motivated by the poor electric power supply. We also see the white movement in Johannesburg in South Africa, where, you know, there's a way at which the satirical way and visual representation at which youth use to respond to the society. And the Sorosuke movement is different. It's not different. The only difference that makes the Sorosuke that differentiates the Sorosuke is just that it is just colored with the Nigerian nuances and means speak up, and it was birthed as a result of the NSAS protest that happened last year in October, and that really speaks to the idea of protest that we are experiencing in our various genres of popular culture, most especially comical skits that is being populated on the social media. So the concept is engaged. I engage, more importantly, I engage the concept to underscore the Nigerian roots and the protest against the society, mostly against the successive failure of the government. And the last slide, critical reflection. And in one idea that came to me, Shana, like this we go today, because we as a member of this this social space in Nigerian youth, certain misgivings, and it's day and day more than ever, the government is not interested in what is happening to the Nigeria.
Hello,
and
Kende.
also every form of visual representation of drama. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, your time is almost up. I think you are in the last minute.
Yes. So at the end of the day, to stay, and it's good. There's going to be a increase in the, and it is what studying more to understand and be able to distill the I tries to take on. Thank you. I am. Hello.
Oh, thank you very much. Can you see me? Can you hear me? I'm not sure my network is so stable.
I can hear you, but I can't see you. Okay, I can see you.
Okay, well, you can see me now. I think my network is a bit unstable. But can you hear me clearly?
Clearly, clearly.
Okay, great. I don't know whether Chinwedu is ready, and I think Odeta Debitayo has joined us. Chinwedu?
Yes, I'm ready.
Great.
It should be working now. So
yes, it is.
All right.
Great.
Okay, great. All right. Sorry if you got a sneak peek into my email account. I hope you didn't see anything incriminating. Okay, can you hear me? Is it clear?
Yes, we can hear you clearly,
Okay.
and we can see the beautiful screen.
Okay, great. That's awesome. All right, so the title of this research project is The Road of Online Comedy Skits on the Sexual Objectification of Women in Nigeria. Okay, so before I proceed, I just want you to watch this very short clip. This very short clip, and because, you know, it just tries to paint a picture for me about what I'll be talking about. Right. Also, sorry if it's, you know, if it's kind of triggering for some people or if it's inappropriate, but this is the content industry that, you know, we have.
Also, did the 40 estate? Yes, for road. What's up in school? Daddy, what? Are you talking now? Say, the 40 of the time for WhatsApp. Now only for app. Study? Don't publish out. Not finalist of application. But with this, the evidence.
Okay. All right. So from this this short clips, I just had to like just go to the parts that are important to this study. But from this, we can see, you can see kind of like a pattern with, you know, the comedy, the characters, the female characters, most especially that Mr. Macaroni especially uses for his comedy skits. Now, most of the scenes or most of the scenes that you've watched are very, you know, there's a certain kind of women that they use and it's very objectifying. Most of the gaze, the camera angle, most of what you see is, women with big breasts, women with, voluptuous bodies, and all of that. Now, Swift and Gold in 2021 stated that the objectification and sexualization of girls in the media is linked to violence against women worldwide. So this should tell you that objectification in this sense is a very serious issue. And this is why this study is very important. Now, there are certain features of objectification. One of them is reduction to body, reduction to appearance, silencing, ownership, body exposure, and male gaze. Now, this features of objectification is based on prior studies about sexual objectification. Now, the objectification theory in itself says that sexual objectification will contribute to mental health problems for women. It will lead to eating disorders, depression, sexual dysfunctions, and most especially in society, it will also lead to women being the target of men's sexist comments, or men making deprecating comments about the woman's body, sexual remarks, ogling, leering, catcalling, and all of that. And this is kind of depicted with this picture that I put here, which is a group of men just looking at a woman just walking by, right? So this is just a brief background about comedy skits, how they came to be, and the online comedy skits in Nigeria. There are a lot of comedians, not just Mr. Macaroni, that are into comedy, and comedy skits right now is like a main source of content on Instagram, on YouTube for a lot of Nigerians. Now, the objectives of the study is to uncover and examine if online comedy skits in Nigeria actually use or sexually objectify women, if they use women in a sexually objectifying way. Now, I also aim to explore the different features of objectification that is used within online comedy skits in Nigeria, and also to uncover which comedians use more sexual objectification, and to highlight the effects of this objectification on women in Nigeria. To do this, I had 3 research questions. The first one is, do comedy skits made by Mr. Macaroni use more sexual language than those produced by other comedians? And the second one is, do online comedy skits makers use voluptuous women to create sex appeal? The third one is there a relationship between this sexualizing content and increased views for this comedians on YouTube? Now, to do this, I performed a content analysis. I took 60, it's supposed to be 60, but I ended up using 53 top comedy skits from, top comedians. And you see the comedians just in the next slide from these top comedians. So for the 53 videos that I analyzed, only 48 of them were used for analysis because I had 5 incomplete responses which were taken out. I sorted these videos. I used YouTube videos and I sorted by popularity, which is a feature on YouTube that allows you to access top videos. And I chose 10 videos from each comedian for coding. I used Mr. Macaroni, MC Lively, Sydney Talker, Nasty Black, Brother Shaggy, and Nedu. And I had 10 coders who were recruited on volunteer basis. All of them were Nigerians because there are certain linguas that I intended to be decoded, because I can't use someone from any other part of the world, because they might not really understand some of the lingua that we use in Nigeria, some of the slangs and cultural expressions. And the coding sheet I used was designed using Qualtrics. Right, so these are the comedians that I used, and this is the criteria for why I chose them. I chose them because of the number of followers they have. You see, all of them have millions of followers. None of them have anything close to anything in thousands. Most of them are millions on Instagram, and that is why I decided to use this, because I believe that whatever result this study will have like a very large significance, because these comedians are influencers, and whatever comedy they put out will influence a large number of people. So depending on the number of followers they have, the number of followers they have determine their influence. And this is something that's critical to the study, actually. Right. So moving on. So these are the units of measurements. All right, sorry. I have to just back up a little. All right. So these are the measurements I used. I checked for sexual language, I checked for sex appeal, I checked for male gaze and sexualization. And how I operationalized most of this is for sexual language, I checked for word, frequency of words used like freaky, sexy, bitch, naughty, baby. For sex appeal, I used, you know, the appearance of women with big bums, big breasts, tight clothing, revealing clothing, and I used sexual sins as well. And for male gaze, I use layering, looking at sensitive parts of the body by the protagonist, that is, looking at, you know, the breasts, the thighs, and also ogling. And I also use camera angle, which is, you know, a form of male gaze as well. For sexualization, I operationalize it as sexual movement, sexual posing, you know, seductive expressions like biting of the lip, shaking of the bum, and I use physical touch, wooing, and ownership. So ownership is kind of, I operationalize it as giving money to a woman. Okay, so what is the validity of this measurement that I used is based on prior research. So there has been a lot of research about sexualization and sexual objectification, and most of these measurements right here are based off of that. So this is an example of the code book I used. It just shows you the coder's name, the title of the video, and then I put all of this comedians. And so the coders would just choose if any, and if it's more than one, there's like an option for them to choose all that apply if it's more than one. All right, so the results of the analysis showed that Mr. Macaroni had used or uses more sexual language than his other colleagues, and he used it 23.5% of the time. Nedu had the highest cases of sex appeal, and all of the top videos he used had 100% of women with big breasts. So it was 100% for him using sex appeal. For Mr. Macaroni, he had the highest cases of male gaze. So male gaze in his top videos were 21.4%. Nedu, Macaroni, Sydney Talker, and Nasty Black had the highest cases of sexualization with 23.3%. And then out of these videos, 63.3% of videos have scenes of a woman wooing a man. So that was like the content style or the content format for all of these videos. It was almost the same kind of content all the time. Okay, and I checked the relationship between, you know, the sexual objectification and increased views on YouTube, and there was a weak positive correlation between most of these variables: sex appeal, sex language, male gaze, and sexualization. Except, okay, sorry, for sexual language, there was a negative correlation, but I just found that there was no statistically significant relationship between all of these variables and the number of views. So the number of views might be related to something else, probably the thumbnails they use or just something, not really the content of sexualization. So what are the implications of this study? One of them is that, for example, someone like Mr. Macaroni, right, who is, or all of them actually, all of them are popular influencers, not just Mr. Macaroni. All of them are popular influencers, and they have the capacity to influence their followers' views. If you notice in Nigeria for the past couple of years, right, from when Mr. Macaroni started, if you're very observant, you will notice that there has been an influx of, you know, certain kinds of content that sexualize women, and it's becoming an epidemic. However, people don't really analyze it in the light of its sexual implication, or, you know, the sexualizing implications. They just see it as humor and then let it be. Now, in the aftermath of the NSAS protest, we see that Mr. Macaroni has risen to the rank of an activist, and an activist has like a very, very strong influencing capacity, right? So if as an activist he is still, portraying women in this light, then it's going to be, or it is, a serious problem for women in Nigeria, because a lot of people will now base their opinions of his views or his videos about women. There has been a lot of study about parasocial relationships and people, feeling like they are very affiliated to whatever an influencer or a celebrity does. So there's like evidence about how this would affect women and how this would affect people's perception of women. Then like I already talked about this, because more people are adopting this kind of content styles, there is a really serious effect for women in Nigeria, because sexual objectification has been linked to rape, harassment of women, and violence against women. All right. So before this is kind of the last slide, but before I leave, I just want to, this is from early this year, comedian is Bayu, where he was, it's an article about comedian is Bayu, where he was called out for demanding sex from women to feature them in his skits. Now, this is just an example of how the problem, or what the problem is, and its capacity to like influence a whole lot of things, right? So now women are not featured in this case based off of their talent or anything. It's based off of what they can do sexually or how appealing they are sexually. So thank you very much. And this is it for me. Thank you. I appreciate questions if you have, and comments, please. Thank you.
Thank you for that very, very apt and thought-provoking paper. It raises a lot of questions, and I'm beginning to think that, could it be that because there is no censorship for most of this online content, could it be one of the reasons why they just throw all caution to the wind? Because I feel like Kennedy was saying about, the dimension between online skits and regular drama. The regular drama they have to go through censorship, but the online skits just. So I'm just thinking about questions that link your two presentations together. Thank you so much for that. I believe we have Ibitayo Odetade with us from Adeyemi College of Education. Are you ready for us, Ibitayo? So that I can make an introduction. You need to unmute yourself. Okay, you're ready. Okay, so Ibitayo will be talking to us about Enyi Akori, sir. Happy Sunday, same to you, sir. Humor and jokes in Woli Agba comedy skits. So you have 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Ibitayo, so I'll be stopping you in exactly 15 minutes time. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'll be presenting on Enyi Akori, Happy Sunday, same to you, sir. Humor and joke in Woli Agba comedy skits. As rightly observed by the presenter that presented last, you will see that comic presentation, comic entertainment mode gained ground in Nigeria in 70s through the 80s, through the effort of Baba Salah, popularly known, Moses Adejuma, popularly known as Baba Salah. He's a very popular comedy presenter, even on stage, until he got into the film medium. And apart from that, through the latter part of the 90s, you will discover that stand-up comedy performances has actually taken the space throughout the 90s, early 90s, latter part of 90s, even up to the beginning of the 2000s, what we call 2000s. And one thing about stand-up comedy, and that's where I'm going, but one thing about stand-up comedy is usually involve singular individual performances, which sometimes you will discover that these singular performances do not involve much actors and actresses is usually individual in nature. And the central focus of stand-up comedy during that time was to make people laugh. And most importantly, even though when it criticizes something very bad in their lives, it criticizes maybe the way they look at women, the way they talk in the society, and all of that. But the focal point of stand-up comedy, which I have studied over time, is just to make people laugh. Even when people are laughing at their foolishness, then some of these things are actually present in stand-up comedy. The major theoretical structure of stand-up comedy, as it were, in those days, even up to recent times, have been and is still satirical in nature, criticizing what is not good in the society. And then let me move on very quickly because I have a little time. I will not want to waste time. Now, in the beginning of the 21st century, especially in Nigeria, we have discovered that social media space has given more expression and accessibility to a cross-section of audiences, most especially the youth, even though that is contestable because even when we say some of these, the audiences of these comedy skits are youth, we should not even forget that the old people, the elders in quotes, are actually watching some of these comedy skits even on the internet. Example of social media that have promoted social comedy skits over time is Facebook, YouTube, TikTok most recently, TikTok. And even apart from what Chinwendu said the other time, this TikTok, for example, has actually promoted the sexual objectification of women, which I'm not into. I'm not coming to that. I'm just concerned about how Wole Agba's used humor and comedy, humor and joke rather, in his comedy skits. Now, we need to make this conceptual clarification about humor. And humor has been considered in a lot of multidisciplinary fields of study over time in psychology, even in anthropology, in philosophy, and sociology, and even most importantly, literature. And we know that humor relieves tension. Relief tension as related to relief theory. I'm not going to dwell on relief theory much. Humor is used to elicit laughter. Humor and laughter are closely related, but they are not the same. Laughter can be as a result of humor because when a comedy skits creator and uses humor, people tend to laugh. But then that does not say laughter is the same thing as humor because we may create humor and laughter is not involved. Because when humor is used to abuse certain particular behavior, antisocial behavior in the society, people tend not to laugh about it. And so I am not dwelling much on that. Even from Aristotle to Plato and even to Gruner 1997, humor has been seen as resulting from a sense of superiority, derived from ridiculing others for their stupidity, weakness, and ugliness. In contemporary times, as I have observed, and this is also evident in the work of Roach 1996, he advanced that humor now refers to all forms of laughter, including jokes, stand-up comedy, television sitcoms, political issues. People laugh at political issues, and more recently, when you look at the influence of the NSAS protests on Nigerian comedy skills creator space, you will discover that the social media space have been used, most importantly, have been used over time to promote some of these social, these comedy skits play. Now, what is, because I've observed other across time, what is comedy skit entirely? Now, when you look at the structure of comedy skits in Nigeria nowadays, I don't want to generalize it, but I would say Nigeria, for example, I have said in what I put down here, comedy skit is a content creation with an aim to elicit laughter. And laughter is one of the issues that is very germane in the creation of this comedy skits. And for people to correct and maintain certain social order. And the question is this: how many people are correcting this social order that we are talking about to maintain social order, you will discover that most of these comedy skits are not correcting any social order in the society. For example, the last speakers talked about the sexual objectification of women. You will discover that this thing has been on increase now among comedy skits creators. And I don't know whether there's a way the censorship board will have to do a kind of censor on Nigerian comedy skits. So in order to move forward, I've also said, observed over time, that comedy skits is a sort of short performance in which the actors make fun of events and types of literature by imitating them. And this imitation is very, very germane to the comedy skit of Wole Agba. Because if you are very conversant and following him online, especially on YouTube, even on Facebook, you will discover that the IPM, the church, the virtual church of Wole Agba, is usually sometimes, almost all the time, used to make fun of people, to make fun of the so-called pastors, so-called in quotes. I deliberately use that. And also, lastly on that, comedy skit is a comic exploration of a concept, character, or situation. And if you look at the comedy skit of Wole Agba very vividly, you will discover that his comedy has been used to explore the concept, character, and the situation of the contemporary Nigerian church in the contemporary Nigerian society. And some of this is, people have said they are not Pentecostals, they are petty rascals. I am not going into that. Now, who is this coming back home? Because I'm checking my time. Who is this Wole Agba that we are talking about? Because before we go deeply, we need to know who it is. Now, Wole Agba is originally known as Ayobami Ajewole. He was formerly a member of a group, Afasule, although they have the same father and the same mother. He was formerly with the elder brother until he came about his own comedy skit. And according to the interview I've read over from him, he said he was doing these short videos even when he was with the elder brother. And now he's from Osun State, of course. He's based in Ibadan, and okay, he's the founder of IPM, otherwise known as Instagram Parish Ministry. Take note of that, Instagram Parish Ministry. And this ministry is based online. This ministry is based online. It's a virtual church. You can examine that in the light of St. Janet's St. Bottles Cathedral, which does not have a particular location, but it's a virtual church where people gather online and do some of these things. Now, the virtual church always have in attendance only the choir members and sometimes some invited guests. And as a way of eliciting humor in his comedy skits, I have discovered that the virtual church of Wole Agba, otherwise known as Instagram Parish Ministry, has been used over time. You don't have a permanent congregation. It's assumed that the congregation are online. And then, apart from that, the choir members have been used to elicit humor. Now, take note of this. Their performances, if you have followed them very well, which I have done over time to arrive at this study, their performances are usually based from a line of laid down programs. Of course, the choir must have been in the church workers meeting. Then after that, the Wole Agba will now come in. They start now as a sort of eliciting humor. Now, they sing from the hymn. Everybody knows that in the Christian church, for example, hymn is very important, and that's where Wole Agba will come in. Now, they will start the hymns. After the hymns, they continue and continue and continue. Then Udele, who is one of the Wole Agba's, the congregation, the leader of the choir, will now introduce a secular music. And this secular music is a intentional event to elicit humor and to create joke among their followers, their virtual followers. Now, I watch closely. While time will not permit me to go into the analysis of some of these things, but I briefly want to, because I am looking at my time. My time is almost up. Let me quickly look at this one. The title of that is the comedy skit is "Gossip is My Hobby." Gossip is my hobby. It's a kind of Sunday service and created like that. And one thing that cut across his comedy skits is the use of language. The use of language is almost the Yoruba language. And then there's a particular guy among them that, introduces English, speaks English, a funny English, using the accent in quote, whether Queen's accent, and then that is to create comedy, that is to create laughter, elicit joke among the followers. Like I've said, secular music, which in the regular church in Nigeria, is not really permissible. Although people now use, even in the regular church, people now bring in so many forms of dance that people might tag as unholy. But in order to create humor and joke, in the Instagram parish ministry of Oliagba, secular music is introduced to elicit laughter, to create a joke, and sometimes to make fun of the Nigerian church hymns. Now, apart from that, another technique that I have seen that have been used to elicit humor and joke is in the comedy skit of Oliagba, is the issue of adaptation of secular themes into the church, the virtual church. Now, like I said the other time, the introduction of this adaptation of secular themes will further elicit humor, make people laugh. And unlike when Chiwedu was talking the other time, you can see the great number of followers that these comedy skits creators have online. They have over Oliagba, those people that are following online, which I'm among, they have about over 2 million followers online. The adaptation of these secular things further used across his comedy skits to elicit humor in his comedy skit. And some of the things I have observed that used to elicit humor is even then another technique that I've seen that have been used to elicit humor and laughter and joke is the issue of improvisation. Improvisation is actually cut across the comedy skit of Oliagba. Now, if you look at the church closely, which I've been following over time, now, since they have started the so-called Instagram parish ministry, they have not been able to raise money in quote to buy microphone. And an improvisation has come in, and they are using a small pipe mounted, tied to a particular tree, and that has been used to improvise a particular microphone, which can also elicit laughter, humor. We can bring about humor and joke, because there's no how bad the regular church is without the use of microphone. So now they have not used the original microphone. Improvisation has taken a kind of landscape in the church. And then another issue that I've seen that cut across his comedy skits is the use of what we call and co, A-N-D-C-O, and co. And this is very common in Yoruba land, southwestern Nigeria, whereby people choose a particular. Hello? I'm running against time.
Your time is almost, your time is actually up, but I think you should go ahead and, yes, okay. Yes, thank you.
Now, as a way of rounding up, because I still have a lot to say, we also see the issue of intertextual, which I believe intertextual reference in his comedy skits, where the daddy, the Oliagba is usually referred to as daddy, Oliagba, that is loosely translated as the elder, an elder in the church. So it's the general overseer of the church. And what I'm driving out is my conclusion is that Wole Agba in his comedy skits are continually or continuously used some of these techniques that I've mentioned to elicit laughter and joke. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ibitayo. I thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. And, especially when you talked about, the virtual church, and I'm just wondering if this whole thing is not like a kind of ridiculing of the church and the sacredness of, the scriptures, but like you said, there are a lot of, will I say, inconsistencies, or what exactly, I'm looking for the right terminology. Even in the real church, that the idea of Pentecostalism, Rascalism, and all of that, where do you really draw the line? A situation whereby, going to Chewindo's paper again, objectification and all of that, and a situation whereby you're dancing makosa, you're dancing all sorts of suggestive dances in the church. Sometimes you don't really know where to draw the line. So the comedy, yes, it's humor. What sort of humor is it? Is it rebound jokes? Should we consider rebound jokes as humor? These are some of the questions we need to ask. Sometimes it's humor, you may be laughing, but it's actually distasteful humor. You understand? And thank you so much for your paper. And Kende, there is something you spoke about, even though there were some issues when you were presenting. I don't know whether it was from my end. I couldn't hear some parts of your discussion, but there was something that really struck me, which was the Sorosoke, so the Sorosoke, what will I call it now, situation, the immediacy of online skits. I mean, when a social issue comes up, you can just call your crew that same day you're talking about it. You don't have to wait for a long time, because these kids usually are, they address issues as it comes. Yes, there's objectification. Yes, there is exaggeration, but there is also an immediacy to these kids. And, it's very, very interesting. Kende, are you there? Okay, I think it's network. Okay, so we have to go to maybe the question and answer. Kende, are you back? Okay. I was thinking that I did not. No, I didn't ask a question. I was thinking that I probably didn't allow you to just like Ibitayo, finish your paper, and we still have about 4 minutes before we go to the question and answer time. If there's anything you like to say or add to what you had said before.
Nothing. Based on what you said, the idea of immediacy that they enjoy, and one striking index that comes to bear was when I was discussing with the both comical skits creator, and one thing they said was that my question, the question I posed to them was, how do you determine a successful skit? And they said that they determine a successful skit based on the comments. And I was mesmerized by it and said, yeah, for them, the comments means engagement. So that there is a possibility that pushes an idea if a study could go study the comments and as it relates to the issue, and that falls in digital humanities. And yeah, so nothing much. I just read questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Kende. And Ibitayo, is there anything else, because you were saying that you had not finished your presentation? Please unmute.
No, nothing. Nothing.
I just wanted to make a very quick observation on the issue of the representation of the Nigerian Pentecostalism in some of these comedy skits of Oleagba. For example, I've forgotten the name of this one. The one popularly used, Eshokwe, is also a kind of, I don't know, maybe when we discuss further, we're able to situate this humor within the context of ridicule, object of ridiculing the Nigerian Pentecostalism. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that insight. Ridicule, the dichotomy between ridicule and humor. It's thank you so much for that. It's very insightful. So I think we should go to Chiwendu. I believe you finished your presentation. Okay, so we can go to the question and answer session now. There are so many interesting questions and comments in the chat room. Oluwabumi Bernard is asking a question, and I think is directed to Chiwendu. Said, in the title, you propose to analyze the sexual objectification of women in online comedy skits. Your presentation examined only online comedy skits by male content creators. I know Tao, Momiwa, and Kiki, who are popular female content creators, also sexually objectify females in their comedy skits. What is your opinion on that? Or is your focus on male content creators? If that is it, so then you may wish to add male to your title and read online comedy skits and sexual objectification of women in Nigeria. What do you think, Chiwendu?
Okay, thank you so much, Oluwabumi, for that question and suggestion as well. I think what this is the title is not wrong, right? It's a sampling issue, right? Because initially I started off with purposive sampling, right? So there was specific people I was looking for, right? I started off with purposive sampling before I went on to random sampling, which is when I sorted the videos and all that. But I didn't really talk about my sampling procedure, and most of this, the issue with the issue about like female comedians, it stems from like the sampling. So it's not wrong to say that female content creators also sexualize women. Of course they do. That is the prevalent content style and they also adopt it. However, for this study, what I focused on was specifically the comedy skit makers that I saw had this kinds of prevailing content, right? So you will notice I didn't study all online comedy skit makers. I didn't study LSA. I didn't study Zixaloma. Like there are a lot of other male content creators that I did not study. And this is just because of my sampling. It's not because I don't know or I don't recognize that female content creators don't sexualize women. This actually is probably, or it's a direction for future studies, I believe, because there's also room for studying how or the difference between male content creators and how they sexualize women, and then female content creators and how they sexualize women. So, well, of course I can change the title to, reflect, say, male content creators, but I personally don't think I picked them because they were male. I picked them because there was a prevailing content type, like for them, like I saw it. And so I decided to study how big of a problem it is for them. I don't know if that answers your question, Oluwabumi. I hope it does.
Thank you, Chiwendu. Maybe you will be thinking of adding one female to the analysis just to have some balance. What do you think?
All right. Sure. The only problem is I've done the study already. So
Oh.
Yeah, but of course, like I said, it's a direction for future studies. I can do it, right? I can, analyze them as well and just maybe merge the results together. That is doable. But for this one, I have gone far, but I can still do it for, in future studies.
And I think based on what Oluwabumi said, I think maybe we should look at the commercialization of sex, some of these skit makers, I'm not quite sure I don't want to say like what they are doing, but they do it because that is what sells. They do it because they will get more followers. They'll get more followers, and they have chances to be influencers for some company or the other. Okay, can you hear me clearly?
Yes. That is true, actually. Most of this content, maybe they enjoy it, maybe they don't, but we can't measure intent right now. We can't say this is why they do it, because they've not said, their intentions is because it sells. For them, they feel they enjoy it, but of course it's what sells. Based on the analysis, when I sorted by popularity, you could see that most of the videos that had more views were those that sexually objectified women. Most of these content creators also have like other kinds of content, but in minority, right? But most of the popular ones, most of the ones that have views in millions are those that actually objectify women. So yes, it's definitely what sells.
Yeah, so it's a societal problem, if I may say that, the societal problem, because if they get more views from the videos that objectify women, and they are out, they are out to make money. So why won't they keep doing it? So it's cyclical, sort of. All right, so there are more questions. Tolu Osayomi says, great presentation so far, and I agree. My question is, what does the humor industry say or represent in the Nigerian society as a whole? Any of the panelists can answer this question. So who wants to go? Bitayo, looks like this is what we're talking about. You can just unmute yourself and talk.
Thank you very much. I believe that the industry, for example, in quotes, objectify humor. Because if it's as if I am thinking that we have to produce a scholarly result, a scholarly investigation. It's as if these comedy skit creators have studied what sells, in quotes, and so they are playing on the intelligence of the audience, so to speak. Because I was thinking when Chinwedu was talking about the sexual objectification of women, I was thinking about the relationship. I did a study in 2017 that studied the sexual objectification of women in traditional Yoruba music, and I saw so many things. And I'm now thinking if there could be a relationship between the comedy skits, how they objectify women, and whether we can actually look at this, connect this with how Nigerian musicians, so to speak, the hip hop singers, and even in traditional Yoruba society, how they connect, how they objectify women. I'm beginning to see if you can see a connection between that. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bitayo. Kehinde or Chinwendu, do you want to respond to that?
I think Kehinde can have this.
Okay. My take on that question draws me back to the COVID-19 period, which you cited on, and you would see that during that period there were a lot of comical reactions to the fears of people, and those comical reactions actually bear certain realities in the minds of the audience. First of all, it gave them a need to laugh, and we all know that laughter is therapeutic. It also gave them a sense of commonality in the sense that, during that period, everybody was locked in their house. So people began to discover that, okay, the same issue I'm facing here, same issue other people are facing. So it showed a common ground of experience for every individual. Other instance I call to bear is that no matter saga that happens in the society, within the next 2 3 days or next 2 days, you would see a comical reactions to it, and that also tells us something that people are watching. And gone are the days where people cannot react. Gone are the days when people cannot talk. I can't remember aptly now, but I remember that I saw a comical skit that responded so aptly and directly to a situation I've forgotten. Even the present situation going on now, the Emilio scheme, we see a lot of things, and people are saying it everywhere. Churches are taking it up. These people are taking it up. It shows that people are seeing these things. And you'll be amazed at the number of views of these reactions when they come. That tells you that there is a rise, there is a high rise of our watching, and whether we like it or not, sooner or later there's going to be an outburst, just like what we saw in NSAS. NSAS just started as a result of someone tweeting, "Oh, let's go protest," and before you knew it, 1 week, 2 weeks, and people were all there. So that tells us that whether we like it or not, humor is becoming a very strong tool of criticizing events, and that also draws us back to the issue, the Yoruba concept of efe and awada, and you see that everywhere, if not explicitly, but in beats, So yeah, that's my case. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Especially when you touched on this Emiloko or Eleyi, and it takes me back to the car opening skits. I don't know whether any of you can remember that time, where almost all the skit makers were doing this car opening skit, ridiculing what happened in Kaduna, Kaduna State Governor's aide. Somebody opened the door, and somebody opened the door for the aide, and the aide opened the door for the governor, and then the internet just went crazy, and everybody was just opening doors and skits and all of that. So it's an urban youth culture. It can start a revolution. And I think they are also using, there are issues here and there, but they are also using their platform to make social commentaries. Mr. Macaroni recently, like you rightly pointed out, Chiwendu, started, being an activist. It's activism, you need to vote, you need to do this, you need to do that. I started questioning salient issues in the society, even though it does this with the objectification, like you mentioned, but they started doing that. And that brings me to the question posted by James Yeku. Now, let me read out. It says, thanks to all the panelists, great presentations. Chiwendu, solid work, thank you. Is there an argument to be made about how women comedians also facilitate the gendered world of online skits? I see Dr. Bernard already mentioned this above, so I won't belabor the point. But do you suspect in your argument that these kids endanger Nigerian women? A puritanical anxiety that may not be shared by the audiences of these kids, including women. Also think about the connection of these kids to Nollywood in terms of the sexualization of women in both popular forms. There is something there, I think. Finally, you are probably aware of Officer Woos, whose works, like others, have evolved over the years. I think his videos offer more sexual content than many others. Well done and thanks. Okay, so do you want to respond to that, or you think about it?
Okay, yes. So I think the first one is like I mentioned earlier. Yes, I've thought about it, but it's like a sampling problem that I didn't put in place because obviously it was purposive and I had like specific comedians that I wanted to study. Yes, I do think that a lot of comedy audience do not really think about the effects on them, right? Even the women, most of the women, sometimes you find they actually offer themselves up because I don't know what they stand to gain from it. Of course, it's there's like fame for them or something else, maybe money, but I don't really know. But yes, there definitely there's something to be said about how the audience cannot see beyond like the humor to see, okay, that this actually has like negative connotations and negative consequences, right, for society. It's surprising because initially I wanted to actually also study the comment sections of most of these comedy skits because I felt that there is insight, or there would be insight within the comment section about what the audience think about this comedy skits. However, I couldn't do that because time and it was a lot to do, so I just couldn't do that. But yeah, I wanted to, because I wanted to understand if the audience knew that this comedy skits actually have this connotations or this negative consequences. But I also think, it would seem as if I'm a broken record now when I say it's a direction for future studies, but I think that it's a direction for future studies because subsequently we can study how the audience perceive this comedy skits, because maybe they don't even see it as anything. Maybe they just see it face value, comedy, humor, and it's just us working ourselves up for something that may not even seem something they may not even care about, right? So yeah. And then the second question, I do not know. Yeah, and I do think that it's a reflection of Nollywood. It didn't start just with comedy skits. It started right off from any form of media, including magazines, movies and all of that. So it's not an online comedy skits only thing. It's just that it's become really, really prevalent, and it's become an epidemic with online comedy skits because like Folakemi mentioned, there's no censorship, right, with online comedy skits. Nobody says, okay, you know what, don't shoot this scene, or this scene is too sensitive, don't do that. So yeah, I think that is the problem. But yes, it has been in Nollywood, it has been, or it is even in society. So it's not an online comedy skits only thing. And yes, I read your article about it's not specifically about objectification of women in Nollywood or something, but there was a sentence or paragraph or so that made reference to that, and I just wanted to highlight that I read that article and it was very, very good. I do not know Officer Woods, so I wouldn't really know if his content is more sexually objectifying, but I would definitely check him out, and if there's a direction for studies there, I would definitely take that up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shiwendu. Thank you so much. And what you just spoke about reminds me of this Ikebe Super, the comic book Ikebe Super from many years ago, which was also, a sort of objectification of women. And this online skits also cast my mind back, not necessarily about objectification, but about, exaggerated comedies that we find in this online skits. Talking about Baba Salah and the Yoruba genre, we have maybe like Dejo, Baba Suwe, and all of this. There's always an exaggeration that you find that there's some parallels there between what they're doing and what the online skits people are doing. I would like the panelists to also go through the question and answers box to see whether there's any particular question for them. But I will read the one that I've seen. There's a little bit of problem, juggling because I'm using a mobile device. But Noah Balogun says, fantastic presentation so far. Kudos to all the presenters. Personally, I've loved that Ibitayo reads Woli Agba's comedy skits as satire. Ibitayo, what do you have to say to that? Please unmute. Okay.
Okay, I will take into that into consideration, but my take is to just investigate the use of humor and jokes, how it elicits laughter among the audience, but in future investigations into comedy skits of Wole Agba, will take that into consideration. Like I said the other time, it's a sort of satire, a kind of ridiculing the Nigerian version of Pentecostalism. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bitaya, for that response. I think Noah also went on the question and answer, so you may want to look at it. I don't know whether there are any more questions, but I made some, like I said when we started this panel, I've been having some news things about this panel and online skits in general, and I'll just like to throw some out there. Maybe we can discuss. Yeah, I already spoke about typecasting. There's kind of typecasting going on. I'm talking from the creative aspect now. Mr. Macaroni is always this lewd old man, so to speak, even though he doesn't look old. Tao, Mama Tao, Baba Tao, there's some certain characterization you expect from them, and it goes online. Kiki has a way, there's some things you expect from her. She's always either too forward or one thing or the other like that. So there is a typecasting going on, which I think is similar, like I said, to the Baba Salah, the Dejo, the Baba Suwe, and so on like that. We've talked about the Sorosoke and immediacy of some of these kids, how they hit on urban culture, how they make social commentaries. And it's interesting to note that some of these kids skit makers have also traveled to some other countries to do like stage shows, So I haven't checked whether the shows are well attended, or so. These are some of the things probably we look at. And I've seen so many collaborations in these skits with mainstream actors as well. Sometimes they'll just bring an R&B or somebody to act with them. So you see this going on in the skits. And sometimes I also see it like maybe a strategy, because I think during I told you I attended the YouTube conference with these skit makers, and some of them were saying that it was a strategy for them to like break into the mainstream Nollywood. I think Mr. Macaroni featured in Ayinla, so it took quite a major role, a supporting role. And then I think the forthcoming to break Nollywood. It's also interesting to see that AMVCA has a section now for online skit makers. I think it was Sabinos. Is this Sabinos or Sabinos that won that category? Yeah, and then beyond skit making, you also see some of these online content creators using a little bit of drama, a little bit of imagination in their presentation. Like we have Aproko, I don't know whether you know him, Aproko Doctor on Instagram, who uses this imaginary Nkechi, imaginary Emeka, imaginary Philomena to drive home his point about health, education. So it kind of breaks down health issues to the common man, makes it pidgin, with street English and uses this imaginary Nkechi phenomena and all that. So these are some of my musings on this panel. And yeah, and I think there's a comment from Yeku, says, okay, yes, good example on Ikebe Super. Jane Bryce has a fascinating article that tracks this topic all the way back to Onisha market literature, and then to Nollywood. The skits offer new materials to reread and extend that kind of work. This leads me to ask, what theories are you guys engaging? Ibita, for example, is Ebenezer Obadare's work on the uses of ridicule important to your analysis? Bidayo, you want to respond to that now, or you want to think about it?
Let me just. Okay. Can you hear me? Now, okay. Now I think I will buy that idea. I will check the name of that scholar. I think I downloaded some materials on it that I've read, but I will also see if I can also read and then include some of these things to make the work more better. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think we have about 7 more minutes to go. We need to keep the discussions going. Panelists, does anybody want to say anything?
Yes, I think Joseph asked the question. Joseph Ololaj, sorry, forgive me. Joseph asked the question. He wanted to see, or he was asking if there was a consideration of the variable of clickbait and fan service leading to the astronomical viewership of the skits makers. So yes, there. Okay, sorry. So yes, there is, because I think, the idea of, and it happens with all influencers, right? The idea, this parasocial relationships that fans have, it happens even with celebrities. This parasocial relationship that fans have with a certain influencer. They just, it's just, oh, I like this influencer. So whatever content that influencer put out is good for me. And that is why you find people, kind of defending an influencer, even when the influencer does wrong. They, it's evident that, this person has done wrong, but, they'll give all sorts of excuses. It's because they kind of feel affiliated to that influencer. They kind of feel, this relationship that we know each other. I understand this influencer is my friend, even though the influencer does not even know you, right? So I think that yes, there is a relationship between this fan service and this kind of parasocial relationship with the viewerships of on these kids, right? So people can just go on YouTube, just watch a certain comedy simply because they like the comedian, or simply because they are a fan of that comedian, not really minding the content of that comedy. So yes, there's that variable, there's that possibility. However, when I did my analysis and I checked the relationship between the viewership and the content, there was no relationship. But I do think that there might be a relationship between, fan service, that parasocial relationship and viewership. So I think that there's a possibility there.
Thank you so much. Coyote? Sorry, yeah. I keep calling Kehinde, sorry.
Yes. Nice presentation so far to everyone on the panel. I also I can't help but not think that comical skits means laughter, and is there a sense if we explore the fact that in as much as it emits laughter, it also emits fear, fear of the realities at which this comical skit produces. Because if you all agree with me, laughter is an emotional expression, and same as fear. So if it emits laughter, definitely it would or maybe should emit fear also. and that brings a question to the common skits that come as a result of social events, be it comic skit that concerns kidnapping, comic skit that concerns etc. So yeah, I don't know what other panelists takes on that.
Yes, thank you so much, Kende, for that important intervention. I believe so too, because it's all based on emotion. And, generally performance is emotive. And that's why, for instance, I was a banker. That's why bankers don't like to give filmmakers money, because they feel like what they're doing is emotive. It can sell and it may not sell, regardless of whether it has good production values or not. So I think you're right. And that also brings me to what Chinwendu said about influence. If it's good enough to bring up laughter, then it's also good enough to bring up change. It's also good enough to influence people either positively or negatively. I think we have about 2 more minutes to go. Any last words from anybody?
None for me.
Okay. Should we do any last words?
No,
all right.
No, thank you.
All right. Yes, I think we've really had an engaging session, and I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank Kende. I want to thank Chinwendu. I want to thank Bitayo. Okay, you want to say something, Bitayo? All right, 1 minute. Please unmute yourself.
I just want to say that I don't know if there can be a sort of collaboration between the panelists for today. Thank you very much.
All right. I believe that's an interesting prospect.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, yes, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So
that would be.
Yes, it will be. Yes. I hope I'll be able to smuggle my way into such a gathering. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who has joined us, who has commented, and the quiet observers too. Thank you so much. This has been a very interesting panel. I think we have to go now on the dot of the hour. So thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.